Hey everybody, this is Francesco Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report. And this time I want to talk about EMPs, VFZ, the natural disasters, as you saw up on the screen. And it's of interest because Obama just recently, just the other day, signed an executive order which was basically looking at or hinting at devastating space events and what could happen to a large portion of our electrical grid. The Obama administration, they're out there and they're actively preparing, or are they? Some are wondering, are they actively preparing for some type of massive solar event that could strike us, could wipe out life as we know it? Some type of solar flare, solar, I don't know, energetic particles, some type of geomagnetic disturbance. A lot of people have always believed that something large and significant could really cripple a technologically advanced society such as ours. In this latest executive order, the president goes out and he calls for various agencies to coordinate, to get together, Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, all those different departments to see if a space weather event were to hit, what would come to pass. You can look this up. It's on the whitehouse.gov, executive order coordinating efforts to prepare the nation for space weather events. And it's pretty interesting. Often it's dismissed as nothing but fear-mongering, conspiracy type stuff. The threat of space weather events, it's not really going to happen. But do you realize that a massive solar flare actually just barely missed the Earth in 2012? And it got a lot of people wondering, what would happen if our grid was knocked out? Are we prepared? What action would we take? A lot of people are wondering, is it possible that Obama has evidence supporting the fact that a space weather event is imminent? And there's, that's not just a conspiracy, folks. You got this congresswoman out there, and she's claiming that it is imminent. A crippling event could occur with a 100% chance. The executive order that Obama signed back on the 13th suggests that may be the case, according to this congresswoman. And if you couple that with the executive doomsday order that was signed by the president back in 2012, the federal government now has the ability to take full control of all critical national infrastructure such as food, water, energy, farms, health facilities, the nation's workforce, everything in a doomsday scenario. So think about it. You have recent projections out there by the Secretary of Homeland Security. There's a report that actually suggests as many as 100 million Americans could be left without power if a solar flare were to hit here. Another report even paints a more terrifying picture, indicating that without access to power via our grids or something like that, Americans would literally come to a standstill. Critical supplies include medicine, gas, food, water, everything. Within a year, as many as 90% of the Americans would be dead if the grid were not restored. There was another report came out. I did this when I was doing my show. Basically, it was an attack on a grid in California, and then a couple weeks later in Mexico with machine guns and stuff. It was a pretty serious attack. The FBI confirmed it. Major media, surprisingly, didn't pick it up. So that's when Congress ordered a committee to come through and say, okay, let's look at our grid. How vulnerable is it? They came back and found that we got to put a ton of money. It's really vulnerable. We basically got 9 locations. If one of those units goes out, only 2 companies make the main unit to bring it back up, and it takes 18 months to produce it. But nothing ever came out of that report. I have not heard of any action plan. Currently our planet, we have this early warning system back out there. It's called the DSCOVR. It was launched back in February. This is replacing the other one. The other one would give us a 15-minute warning if there was some type of issue out in space that was going to impact the United States. This new one gives us about 30 to 45 minutes. So you get a little bit more time with it. But is that enough warning? If you think about it, 30, 45 minutes, that's when people are going out. They're frantically grabbing at grocery stores and everything. Can they meet the demand of the people? And I'm telling you, no. A good example is if you just look at what just occurred with a hurricane. In Florida, we had to evacuate, I think they said, 1 million people from the East Coast. The East Coast was running out of all kinds of supplies, from gas to water to food, perishables, everything. And if anything, it proved that we are not ready as a society to handle some type of event like this. If the grid were to go down, if there were to be a war, we're just not prepared. Think about it. There will be a very decent chance that there will be a breakdown of society that will require unprecedented government response, such as that doomsday executive order. And it's a perfect pretext to come in and put in national controls. Government officials know that life-threatening solar event may or may not be coming, but it's increasingly, they're saying it's more and more likely, more and more probable. Is Obama administration just simply taking a proactive step to prepare, or do they know something is the question. And whatever the case is, it's important to note that Americans just are not prepared. How much water do you have in case there's a hurricane? How much gas supply do you have? Do you have solar? Do you have radio? Hell, most people don't even have $1,000 in the bank to go out and get this stuff. Think about it. Millions could die. It's a fact. Perhaps the action being implemented at the federal level should be, I don't know, a wake-up call. Maybe the hurricane impact of trying to evacuate just 1 million people from the East Coast should be a wake-up call. Think about it. What say you? This has been Frankie Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report.